Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 203 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. For the latest news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, and college sports, this is the podcast to be. And don't forget, you guys can always let me know your thoughts and opinions on Twitter at Billman Sports, Instagram at Billman Sports Guy, and here on YouTube at Billman Sports Guy. Now, today's episode is pretty simple. This episode is basically my NHL Stanley Cup playoff bracket and who I got winning the Stanley Cup for the 2024-2025 season. All right, let's not waste any time to get started. Let's start off with the West. Between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues, I'm actually going to go with the Blues in 6. The St. Louis Blues have been red hot since the NHL Four Nations. Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, they have Cam Fowler, Nick Leddy, a bit more defensive depth on the blue line. Philip Horberg, who's done pretty well ever since coming from Edmonton. And also, you can't forget Jordan Binnington. I could go on listing on other good players and superstars that they have on the team. Now, for the Winnipeg Jets, I know they've been a really good team all season long. Connor Hellebuyck is due to go on a deep Stanley Cup playoff run, but I don't know how to really feel about it this season. I'm a bit concerned that if I were to pick the Jets, then they might get jinxed. So I feel like I'm going to go with the St. Louis Blues as my safe pick to beat the Winnipeg Jets in 6. Now, next up, there's the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. So it's basically the Mikko Rantanen round. Mikko Rantanen, who was part of the Colorado Avalanche, he actually got traded to the Carolina Hurricanes, had a short stint, and then they traded him to the Dallas Stars. So Mikko Rantanen may have a chance on getting revenge against his former team. Now, the Stars, before game 1 the other day, they were in trouble with Miro Heiskanen being out, and they didn't have Jason Robertson for game 1. So I'm actually going to go with my safe bet and pick the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're going to knock out Mikko Rantanen and the Dallas Stars. And another reason why is Avalanche, when healthy, they're pretty good, but also I don't trust the Dallas Stars' right shot in the blue line with Cody Ceci, Ilya Lyubushkin, and Matthew Dumba. Yuck. So I have more faith in the Colorado Avalanche for this round than the Dallas Stars. And because of the right-handed shot depth, and also they don't have Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen, so the Stars are probably in trouble. Next up, between the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild, I have the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I think they're going to beat the Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota Wild, like all Minnesota sport teams, as I've been saying, they're just called the Minnesota Frauds. And I think that's going to happen again. I'm going to say Golden Knights in 6. I think the Wild are going to show a bit of fight, but it won't be enough to get past the first round. Now, for the 4th straight year in a row, if I'm not mistaken, the Los Angeles Kings are going to play against the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I think the Los Angeles Kings, I think this is the season they finally get past the Edmonton Oilers. I think they're going to get revenge. The Kings look a bit of a better and stronger team this season and better goaltending than the Edmonton Oilers. So, now for the West, between the Carolina Hurricanes, this team right here, and the New Jersey Devils, if you guys can't tell, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. I have them beating the New Jersey Devils. I think it's going to take them at least 6 games. I think the Devils, even though they don't have Jack Hughes, they may give the Hurricanes a bit of a competition, but at the end of the day, the Hurricanes are going to move on. Now, between the Washington Capitals and the Montreal Canadiens, I'm going to say Capitals in 5. I think they've been red hot at the right time, and if they get off to a hot start, they will not be stopped. It's as simple as that. But that's nothing to say bad about the Canadiens. They're a young team. They have Yuri Slafkovsky, Leighton Hudson, a potential rookie of the year for this season, Patrick Laine. The Canadians have potential to become postseason contenders again, but they're nowhere near for a deep playoff contender. And Ovechkin, who, by the way, did break Wayne Gretzky's goal record and has 896 goals at the end of the season. So he's also near 400 career goals. And he's off to a good start. And I know Dylan Strome was off to a hot start. Connor McMichael. The Capitals look a bit refreshed and rejuiced this season. So I'm going to say Capitals in 5. Now, we got the Battle of Florida between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. I'm going to go with the Florida Panthers. They just won the Stanley Cup. I don't think they're going to have the Stanley Cup playoff hungover in this round against the Lightning. Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Aaron Ekblad on the defense. They acquired Seth Jones from the Chicago Blackhawks. Sergei Bobrovsky. The Panthers are just they're going to give it a fight. It's not going to be easy because the Lightning do look refreshed. And weirdly enough, it was their first season without Steven Stamkos as even part of their roster, which is a lot more strange. So I'm going to say the Florida Panthers in 7. Now the Toronto Maple Leafs between the Ottawa Senators. I asked myself this. Is this going to finally be the year that the Leafs, at some point they have to go on a deep playoff run with Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, Morgan Riley. They have to do it, right? Now, no sleep on Ottawa. They surprised all of us and made the playoffs this season. However, I just think the Leafs are going to be a better team, and I'm going to say Leafs in 6. They're going to get the job done. They're going to get past the first round for the second time in the Austin Matthews era. Now, for the second round, between the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm going to go, this is going to be my first upset. I'm going to go with Toronto in 7. Now, Florida's goaltending, if Sergei Bobrovsky doesn't do well, if they lose Seth Jones, Aaron Ekblad, Sam Reinhart, Alexander Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, they're in a whole lot of trouble. And I think the Maple Leafs are going to upset the Florida Panthers. It's not going to be easy, but they're going to do it in 7. Trust me. And if the Leafs get hot, they're going to get hot. I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, between the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes, I think the Hurricanes move on. I think they're going to beat the Capitals. A little bit of a better team. Then I think they're going to surprise the Capitals this season. They're going to upset and knock Alex Ovechkin out of the second round in the playoffs. Now for the West, between the Los Angeles Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights. They're just going to be a bit too much of a handle for the Los Angeles Kings to handle. Vegas, when healthy, has a really beast offensive team, and they're going to beat the Los Angeles Kings. It's just going to be too much for Darcy Kuemper. Now, between the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche. I just think they're going to go off on the St. Louis Blues. I'd say in 6 games at least. So, now we're in the Western Conference Finals between the Colorado Avalanche and the Avalanche and the Golden Knights. I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche. I think they're going to make it back to the Stanley Cup Finals this season. I think it's going to happen. Now between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Carolina Hurricanes in my Final 4, I'm going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes. I actually think Carolina will upset Toronto. I think it's going to be in 7 games. I think the Leafs are just going to fall short, but the Leafs will finally go on a deep playoff run in the Austin Matthews era. So, this leaves between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche. I'm going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they finally win a Stanley Cup for the first time since 2006. Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svetnikov, Seth Jarvis, Jacob Slavin. Brett Burns finally wins his Stanley Cup. So does Frederick Anderson. The Hurricanes, they're going to give it all. It's going to take 7 games to take out Nathan McKinnon and the Colorado Avalanche. So that is all for today's episode. I have the Colorado Avalanche. I'm not Colorado, sorry. Little brain freeze. I have the Carolina Hurricanes actually winning the Stanley Cup this season. And thank you for tuning in to episode number 203 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. For the latest news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, and college sports, this is the podcast to be. You can always let me know your thoughts and opinions on YouTube at Bill Man Sports Guy, Instagram at Bill Man Sports Guy, and Twitter. I know it's called X, but we're going to call it Twitter at Bill Man Sports. Have a good evening, everyone. Stay tuned for episode number 204. Peace.